Okay, right. So, welcome back to the second talk for today. And we have Jason with us, Jason Levine, who's also known as Fluency MC. So, Jason creates original songs and videos for English practice and for English fluency. And he also creates workshops and shows with school students, university students, and also English teachers. And he is, or he was, I'm not sure if he still is, but he was, as I discovered, a hip hop DJ. And he's here to help you get fluent. Jason's talk is Fluency Through Rhythm and Rhyme. Thank you so much, Jason, for joining the summit, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Claire, for inviting me. It's so good to see a big crowd here. Thanks for taking the time to tune in and attend the English Fluency Summit and this session, Fluency Through Rhythm and Rhyme. I want to get right into it because there's lots I want to share with you. I will definitely make this presentation available as a PDF. So I'll send that over to Claire, and so that can go out to everyone who is here, and you're free to share it with anyone else. That would be great too. So fluency through rhythm and rhyme. And usually when I say rhythm and rhyme, I do this. I had to stop myself for a moment. It's sort of automatic, rhythm and rhyme. But yes, I am Jason Levine, better known as Fluency MC. And I live in Paris, France, but I'm originally from, well, as I said before we started, I've lived more of my life in this part of the world than anywhere else. So I kind of say I'm from New York, but I wasn't born there, so I don't pretend that I'm a real New Yorker. But while I was teaching there, I taught there for many years. I taught immigrants and international students, and the international students I had, often when they came over, they were really excited because they thought, oh, now I'm in the United States with students from other countries. I'm going to speak English. I'm going to learn English very quickly. But there was a problem. I don't think this will surprise you. Many of them, when they arrived, did not have a strong foundation of English. So if you look at Bloom's taxonomy here, and we look at the base, right, they really didn't have enough vocabulary, especially like chunks of language that they could use then to communicate with not just people in the class that they wanted to be friends with or people on the street, but even in the English language classroom where we're trying to get them to express their opinions. What do you think about gun control, or tell us about your country? But how can you do that if you don't have a base of language? So this kind of became my obsession, how to help students with this base. And I was totally obsessed with the lexical approach, the idea that we learn and store language as chunks. So for example, I know you're muted, but you can do this. It took a long, she likes listening to, I know where to, probably most of you, right, said long time listening to music, know where to go, because those are such high frequency chunks, collocations. So this was, to me, clearly what my students lacked, especially because in their countries, also not a surprise probably, a lot of them were learning more traditional grammar, translation approach. They weren't focusing enough on building chunks of functional language and collocations. So this was, as I said, my obsession. But what happened was I had a problem, which was I needed this to happen outside of the classroom, right? The classroom was where I wanted the students to communicate and build fluency. So I needed to figure out a way, because worksheets, make and do collocation worksheet was not going to be enough. And one day I had this epiphany when a student, young woman who didn't talk very much in class, I said something like, I always, and she said Coca-Cola. And I didn't understand what happened, and everyone's laughing. And then I realized, oh, at the time, right, the slogan for Coca-Cola was always Coca-Cola. This was a collocation, a chunk that the Coca-Cola company had invented and put in their ads. And my student was on the bus, right, watching TV, getting repeated exposure to this collocation, and it came out quickly. That's fluency, right? Always Coca-Cola. She said it with confidence. The only problem was it's not a very functional language chunk. You don't usually need this in a conversation. So this student did not know always on time, always be there for you, right? Those were the chunks that she needed. So I realized I had to do something. And if you look again at Bloom's taxonomy, you see that little word there, repeat, something where my students were getting that kind of repetition, like commercials on television, something where they were relaxed. They weren't trying to learn, right? She wasn't trying to study always Coca-Cola. And that's the paradox, right? She was learning when she's not looking, which is what companies do to try to get you to remember their brand. And I needed to do something on that level. It was not the worksheet level that was it wasn't going to work that way. So the first thing I tried, card games, collocations games, which were great for the classroom. But remember what I said, I needed out of class practice. That's what I needed. So I kept thinking, I thought, oh, music. If I make a song and the song contains the target language that my students need to participate in the classroom, for example, irregular verbs. This was the first song that I wrote. If they like the song enough and they listen on the bus, they listen walking to the classroom or whatever, then they'll remember in class. And that's exactly what happened. So it was once I realized this, I started to make more songs. I was even on this program a few years ago, La France un incroyable talent. So that was my moment in the spotlight on television. But I haven't stopped with games. So now I have Fluency cards, which is very recent. I'm going to start promoting it more and more starting this month and next month. But the idea is the card games, but now on your phone. So that solves the problem of out of class practice where you can play on the bus and walking to class. And as I said before, so a little bit more on that at the end when I share links to where you can find things of mine. And just one more thing about games, because we're going to get into rhythm and rhyme in a moment. Bamboozle is a great platform. Some of you may know of it. If you're on Bamboozle, find me because I have lots of public games that you can practice, a lot of them with language chunks, with collocations, and also students can play outside of the classroom on this platform. So that's Bamboozle. But yes, as Claire mentioned, yeah, and I used to be a DJ, that's true. And I still make music for most of the songs. I do shows, as Claire said, for kids in different countries around the world. And everywhere I go, I talk about this. And I want to start really today with this idea about practice. What is English practice? A student often says, I need more practice, or I need to practice more. Or maybe you as a teacher say in a nice way, oh, you just need to practice more, right? Not you need to practice more, right? I hope. But what does practice mean? And for my UK friends, sorry, I'm American, so I spell the verb with a C. I think I might have a screen coming where it's with the S. I tried to S there. If I go to IATEFL, which I may do this spring, yeah, I'll make sure it's an S. But I talk with students and teachers all the time about this. I like to think of learning a language, actually learning any skill, and learning any language, but let's use English as an example, as studying it, practicing it, and using it. So if studying it is, maybe translating vocabulary, grammar rules, present perfect versus the preterite, right? It has value. I mean, I think you need all of these things when you learn something. But let's also talk about another skill like tennis, right? So you might read a little bit about how tennis works and what to do, right? But the main thing you do, right, is you practice tennis. You don't keep studying it. And the problem I find, and I think you probably find as a teacher and a student is many times people try to study English and then jump to using English. And then, oh, why am I so bad at English? Why am I so bad at grammar, right? I understand how this works, but that's, of course, kind of crazy, isn't it? I mean, you would never study tennis, not practice, and then go play a game. So to me, using English is, the job interview, the conversation with somebody from, Australia, the TOEFL exam, right? That's a real life, right? Real life. So what's practice? So back to sports, I think it's very clear what practice is. I don't think anybody would say that these situations are the same, right? We have a game, so you can call that using, like using English, or performance. I think that's the best word here, right? That's performance, that's real life. And you've got a boy practicing football or soccer, since I'm American, but I live in Europe, so now I say both. Isn't music the same? Clear difference between practice and performance. But how many English learners and teachers are really thinking about that difference? What is practice and what is performance? So if you check, here's the S for Claire and anybody else who appreciates it. You see this word repeat. And if you remember Bloom's taxonomy, there was that little word repeat, because when we develop a skill like music, repeating piano again, 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 or sports, tennis, again, 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 we never stop and say, stop repeating, be more creative. We know we need the repetition. And it's the same for English. It's the same for English. But I think very few people do something where they're repeating enough, where they're getting enough exposure. And that's often the reason they can't develop critical thinking in a second language. So this is the formula for fluency that I follow. This is my credo. When you practice something, again, it could be anything. You can think English, tennis, saxophone, right? You get better, not perfect, right? But you notice your improvement. People understand me more when I speak. I understand more. You get confident. It's the confidence, like always Coca-Cola, right? That comes out when you know something and you feel more accurate with it. So do we naturally repeat, conversations from a textbook? No. Do we naturally repeat a magazine article? If you really like a magazine article, do you read it 12 times? No. So this is, I think, to me, the most important thing we need to consider. And I think one of those things, and that's the one we're going to really talk about. But it's not just music, games, short videos, clips, jokes, other things like this. But there's something special about music. And here's where time is good, right? Here's where we could talk about games. We could talk about short videos. But there's something about music that's really special. And I think the answer to this question is multifold. Like there are so many answers to this question. So to me, the most interesting thing that music and language have in common is this. I'll let you just read that. So when Clara said at the start, she said, and I'm paraphrasing you, sort of, I'm suffering from a heavy dose of cough. I don't know, something like that. I thought you were going to say coffee, and you said cough medicine, right? But how many different possibilities are there? Not many, right? My brain is already kind of thinking of what's next. To me, that's fluency, right? Like listening fluency, when that sort of predict what's coming, or when you speak, you can kind of keep going. That's fluency. And music is super important in this way. Not important's the wrong word. It kind of has a superpower with this that I want to demonstrate, and it has a lot to do with rhythm in music and rhyme in music that enhances it. But also melody. For example, if I say hello, you say hello, hi. But if I say hello, you might say It's me. Or if you're old like me, is it me you're looking for, right? I had to change my presentation on this years ago when Lionel Richie was supplanted by Adele as the most common answer to this. But this is that idea. It comes out, but it doesn't come out just because you know it. It comes out depending on how much you've read it and heard it, right? It has to do with exposure. But music makes it happen faster. And it wasn't just always Coca-Cola. Of course, it was always Coca-Cola, right? So it's the same idea. What is so special about music? Oh, this is here just for the people that don't listen to Adele. I don't think baby means anything, but how about baby? Whether you like it or not, you probably know that one. Most of you probably don't like it. What's different about music that makes it so powerful as a way to reach fluency? Rhyme is one, for sure. Right? If I say I don't think it's good, we'll find another. So I did this exercise with you before. Maybe you'll get it, but I think there are a lot, we'll find another solution possible, But if I say, I don't think it's okay, we'll find another, right? Probably your brain, right? So in a way, okay and way, it's kind of a collocation in the rhyming sense, right? And our brains like to encode language with chunks. We know we chunk, so we chunk words that go together, but rhyme also chunks, and even faster because of the sound of it makes it, and that's what's so special about music. So if you have a collocation and a rhyme together, you're more likely to remember the collocation. How about rhythm? Now, I did not prepare you for this, but I didn't need to. If I say boom, bap, ba-boom, boom, probably you did this. I mean, there are different rhythms in different languages and cultures, and someone was on LinkedIn was talking about that, and I want to address that. And some languages don't have rhyme, right? But most do, and even if they don't, if you have music in English, we're talking about English learning, learning rhythms like this and rhymes in English will help you learn the rhythm of English and learn the sounds of English so much faster and become confident. So we're already answering this question. And that's because this is the fast presentation, right? So we've talked about the first one, spaced repetition. Duolingo, what do? They give you some words and then you get them 10 hours later or 10 hours later like this. We know this helps us remember. Well, songs, when you listen to a song, when do you listen again? If you really like the song, maybe tomorrow, maybe in a few days. If you read the lyrics while you listen, that's immersive reading. If you don't know that term, it's a great term. It's reading while you listen. It's not just music, right? It's subtitles and series, for example, and other things. But, right, the songs we usually repeat more than we repeat other things at intervals. And when you read the lyrics, wow, spaced repetition, immersive reading, these are very, very powerful ways of remembering vocabulary and grammar structures and pronunciation. English does not have direct sound spelling. Go, so, no problem. But then, oh, go, so, no, do. But nobody says do because you hear it and see it so much. It's like always Coca-Cola. Do, right? But how about this? Do those rhyme or not? Well, it's not go, throw, do. That's maybe really difficult or really easy. If you listen to songs and you see the words while you listen, rhyme and the absence of rhyme helps you make sense of sound spelling relationships. So I have a make and do song, make or do or make. Thinking about it will make your brain ache. Do yourself a favor, give yourself a break, relax and repeat for fluency's sake. Well, you see here, break and sake. EA is not always A, right? Tear, fear, right? But instead of teaching phonetics, songs you can automatically learn the way a word sounds and the way it is spelled. Here's one with minimal pairs: fill, feel, hill, heal, still, steal, make it ill, keep it real. And rhythm. So shrinking and linking is what I call reduced and connected speech, right? So that's the rhythm that's very particular about English. Are other languages stress timed? There are some, but not to the level English is, right? So that's really important. And most languages are not. Certainly most of the students I've had in my life, their first language is not stress timed like English. So when somebody said, could you use rap? Well, let me get to that in a moment. But first of all, I think you're familiar with this. We don't say, what are you going to do on Friday? We say, what are you going to do on Friday? So looks a little bit like this, right? In natural speech. But if you don't know this, I can say this as a sentence, right? Not as a rap. The rhythm of rap, the word stress and sentence stress, has the same foundation as English pronunciation, right? That's normal word and sentence stress. But if I rap it, the rhythm of rap, the word stress and sentence stress has the same foundation as English pronunciation. That's really remarkable when you think about other music, like pop songs that are more melody. They're always changing the stress, right? And we don't have enough time to go into it, but just an easy example, we don't say everybody, right? We say everybody. A rap song would say everybody, somebody, nobody, but a pop song would change it to everybody, which is great for music, but it makes it better to use rap in many cases. So a song, this is part of one of my songs about how to give advice and receive advice. So I always show where the word stress is, because I think it's really important to see it while you hear it, and that's that immersive reading. So we don't have tons of time. I'm just going to go quickly and show you a few things. And if you're interested, you can always contact me by email if you have questions. So this is a really quick rundown of what I think is really important to build fluency with music, right? So I'll just highlight things while you read this. Most of us don't have time in class to do songs, but that's okay. I don't do songs in class usually. In class, the idea is, do my students remember language from the songs to use in the activities? But here are some things you can do in the classroom. And again, I'll send you the PDF of this. So I'm going to kind of go quickly here, because I want to make sure I finish, right? So if you can get them hooked, I think it's the hook, in français, l'accroche, right? If you can get them hooked in the classroom, maybe a little bit of a song, or show them a website, and then they start repeating songs at home with videos, with lyrics, that's, I think, the best thing. If you have time in class and your students like to do songs, but usually time's a problem, and also students feel shy or they don't want to sing together, which is normal. We don't usually sing in groups of people unless we're drinking alcohol or we've known them all our lives, or we're a church choir or something like that. So pop songs are great, but the problem with pop songs, right, is often it's very good for culture, right? But as I said, it can be different from English pronunciation. I'm not trying to teach students to rap. I'm using rap so that it helps them understand conversational English and be able to speak more clearly and be more confident in conversations. So this is one reason, a big reason I write songs. But you can write songs. That's the next thing we're getting to. That's a workshop, a totally separate workshop. But first, before I tell you how you can write your own songs, just what I've been saying all along today, the benefits of rap. One thing I didn't point out at the bottom is that everywhere in the world, students know rap. Rap has very different sounds and feelings. It doesn't have to be, oh, violent rap or not violent, or, there's so many types of rap music. But yes, you can write your own raps. If you think it's difficult, it is not. Like, it really is not. Now, is it hard to write a whole song, like with a blank piece of paper? But I never do that, right? I start with a word bank, right? And where does that word bank come from? Comes from if I'm using a textbook, if I'm preparing students for the Cambridge exam, right? You start with what you have, and you don't need to write a long song, right? You can start with, right, just some short rhymes. If you don't know rhyming dictionary, go to rhymezone.com. Your students will love it too. You can just put a word in and see all the rhymes. Right? It's not cheating. Everyone who writes poetry and writes songs uses a rhyming dictionary. Online dictionaries are amazing now. And ChatGPT, I think I have yet large language model. Get ChatGPT to help you write the song. It's not cheating, it's a tool, right? Students can use that and then change it, right? You're not going to just say, oh, I like ChatGPT's song, I'm finished, here's my song, right? You can use large language models to help you. That's what they're best at, language, right? That's what they're best at. Easy to find music. So you can do something like this. This is a quick example with business English. Here are some idioms that are high frequency. How do you get those idioms in a student's head? Well, I started playing with them. I like the get maybe together. I thought, oh, okay, up in the air, stick with it, you know, kind of not even thinking about rhyme, right? And then I didn't make a song. This is not a song. These are separate, what we call rhyming couplets. I want to show that to you so you can see. You can do this or your students could do this. Let's get the ball rolling and get this project off the ground. We need to get down to business. Let's stop messing around, right? This could be any vocabulary, any level, any structure, and you could write a longer song, or your students could write, or it could just be something, right, that they repeat to try to remember to use in class. So I want to show you an example I made. If you think, oh, but can you write a rap for TOEIC or TOEFL? So I have one for TOEIC. It goes like this. The TOEIC begins with the listening section. You open up your textbook, you hear the directions, then part one starts. You look at 6 photos. You choose the best description for each one, and you go to part 2. It's called question and response to 25. You listen to people speak and choose the right replies. Then it's on to part 3. 13 longer conversations in an office, a store, or other business situation. Part 4 has 10 talks, only one person speaking, adds messages, announcements, and extras from meetings. The reading section's next. Part 5 is 30 questions testing grammar and vocabulary and English expressions. Part 6 is 4 texts with 4 questions each. You select what's correct to make the text complete. Part 7 is more conventional reading comprehension. First, the 10 single texts, followed by 2 to 4 questions. Then there are multiple texts, 2 sets of 2, 3 sets of 3. That's the TOEIC broken down. Peace, Fluency, MC. So that's TOEIC. But before we go, I want you to rap with me. We're going to do a little rap together. I have a couple minutes. Yes? Clear? I'm good? But before we rap together, practice makes. I know what you're going to say. Like always, Coca-Cola. You have, hello, it's me. Practice, but look. Aha. Because I like perfect if it means like more accuracy and confidence, but perfect can be stressful. No, like I have to have perfect English. So I like this one, but I have a better one. It sticks, right? You practice something, muscle memory, right? It permanently, you always have that collocation, right? You remember it quickly, you can produce it fluently. And I just wanted to say the fluency cards I showed you before, it's based on Uno. So if you're interested in this, I'm going to send you the link, all of my links in a moment. I'll just send you like Linktree in the chat and you can check it out, Fluency Cards. And before we practice a little bit, when you relax and enjoy your time, it's easy to learn with rhythm and rhyme. Okay, try that with me. Ready? When you relax and enjoy your time, it's easy to learn with rhythm and rhyme. And it's okay we don't have the speakers on because it would sound crazy and maybe you feel more shy. You just need to, right? Listen to me, listen to yourself. So it works very well when you do it this way, I think. Okay, here we go. 2 short raps, everybody, right? Take a look at it. You can see where the stress is. Ready? 1, 2, three, here we go. You'll learn without looking when you stop feeling stressed. Having fun when you learn is when you learn the best. And one more. Ready? Here we go. Now, English learners everywhere, don't ever forget, the more you practice, the better you get. The better you get, the further you go. Just relax, repeat, remember, and you'll find your flow. Go, Claire. Go, Claire. It's your birthday.
I've unmuted myself. Did you want me to do the rap with you?
And this is my favorite. I always forget the name of the psychologist. You could look it up. He wasn't so notable for so many things, but this is a wonderful quote. I'm forgetting his name. What we learn with pleasure, we never forget. I hope you agree with that. Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you go to Fluency MC on social media, you can connect with me. If you want to DM me, message me, Instagram. I'm always messaging with students and teachers on Instagram. You can also email me. I'm happy to email with you if you have a question or a comment. And I'm going to, before we stop here, let me just stop the share. I'm going to give you in the chat the easiest link, which is Linktree. Why can't I copy it? Hang on one moment. I'm going to need to open it here myself. There we go. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's making me crazy. Sorry, guys. Just a second. I can't even go to my own link. Okay, I have another way to get it. Bear with me just a second. I wasn't really prepared for that. Linktree. Yes, and let me get that. And I'm sorry, I haven't looked at the comments yet.
I've got you on the
Claire, I don't know if
comments.
you want, if we have time, if do we have a couple minutes or not? I know.
Yes, we do. And I've got some comments for you while you're finding your link tree.
Yep.
Otherwise, I have it and I can send it out as
No,
well
no,
in an email.
I've got it right here.
Okay,
I've got it right here.
perfect.
Sorry about that. But if you don't mind helping me with the comments.
No, first of all, I wanted to say thank you, Jason. I love the rapping. The rapping is fantastic because I don't know about you guys, but when I was listening and taking part in the rap as well with my mute on, you start clicking your fingers, you start tapping your toes. It's a rhythm that really, really helps us to sort of like see and hear the music and to feel it inside, to feel the rhythm of the words inside. Thank you. We've got your link tree
Oh,
link.
thank you, Anna.
You're amazing, Jason. I love the way you rap. You're amazing, Jason. I've got lots of amazing. You're great. Congrats. Thank you. Wow, amazing. Thank you, Jason. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I've got
I
loads
love
of
the thank yous,
yous.
but if you have, I don't know about time. I have a few minutes, so I don't know.
I've got a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
The first one was how to practice this when the student is you. So lots of people here are teachers, but also some students. How can you practice with rhythm and rhyme when you are the student, Jason?
So I think the first thing is, teachers, there rarely, I think teachers find that it works in a classroom with older, adolescents or adults, right? You can get little kids to do rhymes with music, and then at home they'll do it with but the thing about adolescents and adults is if you put any kind of pressure on them to perform, it's not even just music, but especially singing or rapping, it's not natural. Actually, like I said, we don't normally sing in groups, let alone a classroom. Right? We just don't usually do it. When do we listen to music and rap and sing, right? Headphones, but it doesn't need to be a group activity. I don't think it's, what works for me is, getting them into the idea, maybe watch this for homework, watch this video, do this gap fill, listen, try to put the words. If they get enough repetition of a song by themselves at home, they're more likely to remember it and start doing it, right? That kind of thing. But also, last thing about this, I've seen students who never open their mouth, who've used my songs, and it's improved their fluency because they've got all of this language from the exposure. And you know, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because you know, you how many songs do you sing that you know? I mean, there's songs you have in your head for years. You've never actually sung them, maybe. So the number one point of getting the language to be able to speak English, it's not to be able to rap and sing, right? It's to have all of that there. So I think that's the really important thing for adults, adolescents, and adults.
Yeah, and thank you so much for that, because it comes back to what you're saying, which is the importance of repetition. And it's something that as teachers, it kind of fell out of fashion because we were all trained to teach communicative English, which, okay, is great. But before you can be communicative, you need the basis. And you know, things like drilling. I don't know if some of the students who learned English a few years ago, you would learn through a method of like, he is in the classroom, she is in the classroom,
And if I can interrupt, this is
in
just, if I can pick up here, because it's just, you set it up perfectly for what I was wanting to say next. And I have a whole workshop on this. I call it like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So audiolingual method, right, was that kind of boring, out of context repetition, right? But what happened with communicative language teaching, it started with more controlled practice and drilling. And somehow it went from there to, what do you think of gun control? When you don't have the basic foundation of grammar and vocabulary, right? So that's the thing. We don't want boring drilling, but you can't do it without repetition.
but
It
your
doesn't happen.
ways.
So what's the natural way to repeat? It's not only songs, but as I said, we repeat songs naturally, and the rhythm and rhyme in songs is the big added bonus there as far as helping it stick and make it more enjoyable.
And sorry, yes, I also want to say how, you know, your emphasis on doing it outside of the classroom. And, you know, certainly people that I work with, you know, I'm always saying, you know, practice with people outside of our lessons, because the more you practice, the more you're going to increase your fluency. Now, there is one comment, and it's a slightly negative comment, but I think it's worth raising just to
That's okay,
ask.
though. That's more
Yeah, okay,
interesting.
Jason. So it has a right to exist, says Oleg. So I'm assuming rap, it has a right to exist, but too much simplifies our speech and it makes it primitive. So what would you say, does rap bring down the level of, I suppose, sophistication of English?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I don't think you would say that a book brings down uh but your English, but of course it could. It depends on the book. Who wrote the book? What's the language in the book? So it's the same with rap. I mean, I think if you have, you know, rap maybe has this reputation of being like, you know, street English and dialect, but rap is just poetry with music. So to me, that's a very, I understand the comment, but I think what that comment is saying is, what do you think about rap that is a particular dialect that is not standard and blah, blah, blah. So I think I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons I write my own songs, it's not because I don't like rap English that's more slang and based. It's because students need to learn standard English generally before they can learn a dialect or whatever. So a great example is French, right? I like French rap. But I know that if I want to build my French for a job interview or for this or for that, right? It's not French rap that's going to get me that base of language. You know, so if I do develop, I haven't, a higher level of standard French, yeah, then I can maybe sample more and understand dialect. So I hope that answers the question. Rap is not, you know, bad English.
And as you said, you know, with your one of your last examples, so you used it first of all to explain about the TOEIC exam, but also for business idioms. If you can find the rhythm in there and you can put them together, there is your rap, and your rapping, I suppose.
Whatever you want to learn, and whatever grammar structure you want to practice, and you know.
Lovely,
Absolutely.
thank you. There's one other question. This is a question that actually came up outside of our group. This came up on LinkedIn when a teacher contacted me and said, okay, so you've got rapping in English. Would it also work with other languages? And she teaches German.
Mm,
Jason, does rapping does it work? Sorry, does rapping work as a method with rhythm and rhyme with other
mm.
languages as well?
Absolutely, and I know people who do it with, Brazilian Portuguese, for example. I know somebody that was doing it with, I'm forgetting the language right, the other language right now. But absolutely, first of all, anything that it's really about, is it enjoyable to repeat, first of all? Because obviously, if it's not enjoyable to repeat, you're not going to do it. But music, with lyrics, if it's a different language and the rhythm's a little different, I don't think it makes any difference. I think, there's a lot of rap in the Spanish language, for example. Not to teach Spanish, but I know people that memorized very quickly a song in Spanish, learning Spanish faster than they would remember, an article in Spanish. And I think that's the repetition and that's the rhyme. And I think any rhythm. The reason it's so important in English is because of the stress time nature of English. That's what I've discovered. So I definitely don't think, oh, it's only for helps with English at all. Not in the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely that thing about the word stress is so tricky in English, and you get it
Right.
wrong and then it can really cause misunderstanding. So word
That's right.
stress is such a fundamental part of English pronunciation.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. I don't know if there are any other questions. um I've got lots of, yes, more thank yous. It was really fun.
Oh, good.
um
Well, please,
Amazing
guys,
class.
you have my email. Well, I'm going to send the PDF. Will have my email in it. Claire, you'll share
I certainly
links.
will.
There's the link
Yes.
tree. It has my, yeah, I think I'm easy to find. And I love staying in contact with teachers. I've been in contact with teachers and students and teacher students, which I think a lot of us are here, which is good. I'm the same with French. I'm an English teacher, but I'm a French student. So yeah. So I'm very happy. I'm glad if you thought it was fun and useful. Thank you. I'm seeing the comments here. Great. So yeah, if I didn't answer a question, or if you think of a question later, please email me or contact me on social media.
Thank you so much, Jason. Once again, thank you very much indeed for
Oh,
joining the summit and for sharing
pleasure.
rap. It was such a pleasure to hear you. Thank you also to everyone who's come along today. As I said, I will send the recordings out after the summit. The final talk today is at 6 p.m. How to get fluent in English through fluency phrases. If there are no more questions, I don't want to take up any more of Jason's time, but thank you so much once again. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you at 6
Thanks so
p.m.
much.
Bye for now. Thank you
Okay.
very much
Take
indeed.
care,
Thank you.
everybody. Have a
Bye-bye.
great day. See you soon. Bye.